is love? With us today are your friends, Glow, Miss Pearl, myself. You probably know me as What's Up. Uh, Maya and Baker of Pi, and Maya's feminist friend, who will decide what he wants to call himself when he feels like it. So, first up on our docket of what is love is what? How do you differentiate in what is platonic versus romantic love? Up first is God help me, Glow.
Oh, platonic versus romantic love. Um,
Get going.
there's no such thing as platonic love. It doesn't exist. And romantic love is love between a man and a woman. That is a biological instinct that helps further the human race in making children. And anything else is a perversion.
Okay, anyone want to follow that up?
And love and sex are interchangeable.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Shoot.
So you would be excluding like non-sexual male-to-male friendship or female-to-female friendship.
That would qualify as platonic love.
Yeah, I call it friendship. It's not love.
So like you can never love. I assume you're heterosexual, so you can never love another man like that. It can only be friendship.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe you do things within that friendship. I don't know, like you give each other like oil massages, which just sounds like you're the kind of person who indulges in those acts. But love is like an instinct that creates offspring.
So, and if someone is gay, like if it's a man that is in love with another man, then that's also not love.
I'm defining love in a very narrow context, and I'm kind of saying that it's not really exclusive to the human species. It's it's what drives animals to reproduce.
Okay. So you're
So I'm
carving
not
out
saying
your
that
own
you don't have
definition.
affection for your homosexual partner, when you're giving him an oil massage. I'm just saying that, the biological instinct of love is what drives us to reproduce.
Okay, point clarified.
Does
Thank you.
does anyone else want to step in? Anyone? Bueller. Bueller.
I guess I could provide my own theory on love.
Feel free.
Love, as we understand it, is not the same thing as sexual love, but I've never made a particular distinction between sexual love and platonic love. There are people you want to have sex with or not, and it's one of the many bonding activities you can do with another human being. And obviously, there's people it's inappropriate to have sex with and whom we disapprove of having sexual interest in. But the ability to love is one of the weird human capacities that allows us to get attached to pretty much anything. We're the sort of species that can feel sorry for lamps. And it's also our species' greatest strength, since among many things it's allowed us to domesticate animals.
Baker, do you care to contribute?
I guess I'm still kind of stuck on Glow's thing. Like, are you just completely discounting family? Like, is that just a totally separate subject for you?
Like just like, oh, can
Like,
you be more
as
clear in
far
the
as
question?
love, you said that platonic love doesn't exist and that it exists between a man and a woman. So are you like not counting familial love as love, or are you just like putting that off to the
I mean,
side?
I think familial love is kind of a different category. It's a different thing.
Okay.
Like it's
Understood.
kind of like imitation cheese. Like I'm not gonna call cheese whiz cheese. It's Cheese Whiz. If there's people here who enjoy Cheese Whiz apparently, and that's fine. I'm not gonna
Is
snatch Cheese Whiz out of their mouths or however they choose to enjoy their Cheese Whiz. But it's not
Cheese Whiz even food?
So I have a counter definition.
Okay.
So I don't believe in romantic love.
Interesting.
I think that romantic love is just platonic love mixed with lust. Because a lot of the time humans confuse lust for love when they first get into a relationship with someone.
I have kind of like a follow-up question for you.
Sure.
Do you think the fact that you frequent sex clubs and engage in acts with, God knows who, has kind of prevented you from enjoying love, in a normal capacity?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think it has damaged you at all?
No.
No.
Glow, I'm going to step in here. The poly concept of love is radically, well, it's not radically different. It's still love, but it's executed far differently than monogamous love. The sense in poly is like, if you're friends with someone, why wouldn't you fuck them if you want to?
So you're agreeing,
putting up artificial barriers.
Perversion, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, I'm asking Torrey that he agrees that it's not the same. It's like a cheese whiz, No,
it's not. It's still love. It's like the difference between... It's not like some artificial bullshit concocted in a lab. It's like the difference between blue cheese and Gouda. They're both
but
cheese.
It's not the same thing, though.
Well, it kind of is. They're both cheese. They're just different variations on the concept.
Yeah, okay.
I
mean, some people think cheese whiz is normal cheese. They don't know any better.
I'm not even convinced that cheese whiz is food. So, segueing from platonic versus romantic love, can you be sexually platonic and romantically absent? Hello. Yes, Baker?
I
Lost my...
I guess, I don't know. I don't completely understand the question. So just having sex with someone as a friend, but having no romantic interest in them?
Yeah, kind of like you're friends with benefits versus you're romantically interested, but you're just not sexually there. I know a poly couple who, the dude figured out he was gay in his late 30s, and they're still married. They still love each other very much, but they both seek their sexual fulfillment elsewhere.
See, to me, that's not romantic love. Then that's just friendship, and I do think that you can love your friends, but it's not the same thing.
Maya, I know you dropped, but we are discussing sexually platonic versus romantically abstinent. And your video's on, I'm just going to go.
So just to be clear, your friend was eating cheese, and then when he was done with that, he didn't really like cheese, and then took a cock in the ass, and then started slurping cheese with it. Is that what happened?
Well, they have...
Kind of going along with the metaphor.
No, this isn't a metaphor. It's like he figured out he was gay in his late 30s after he was married and had kids, and then they kind of... they still love each other, but they both, fucking...
So he had kids, but kind of like a walrus, right?
Well, I guess in the old parlance, back when, gays didn't have it so easy, she would be his beard.
Okay. So they love each other as friends.
Well, they love each other a little bit more than friends. They're just not sexual anymore.
Is she concerned about HIV at all? Because that's kind of prevalent.
Well, they don't really fuck anymore.
Okay. Okay. Kind of for her safety, right?
Well, probably because
no,
he
no.
doesn't want to because he's gay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Pearl?
I don't think this conversation is providing any sort of meaningful point of interest.
Um, do you have
I think
any-
we're going around in circles while somebody tries to get as much attention as possible onto them in the hopes of causing someone to freak out
Pearl,
so
you
they
wanna
can
speak
enjoy
me
the
out?
resulting chaos.
I don't think we've quite hit that point with the person to whom you are referring, but I will make
No,
sure
I'm
to
out.
deny that.
No, I'm not finding anything meaningful out of this conversation. I can't see any way I could participate that would be
Okay.
amusing. Sorry.
Okay.
Can we kind of get a head count? Like
Uh,
who's still playing the game?
You are me, Baker, and my friend.
Okay.
Okay, so any thoughts on that topic?
What was the topic again?
Well, since there's been a segue into discussing cheese for a really long time, I think we should move on to the next question.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we don't lose everybody.
No more bad metaphors, Glow.
Yeah. Can women love men?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello?
Oh.
Like, women love men. Yeah, in like in a temporary fashion. You know what I mean?
Why temporary?
Wait, isn't that the antithesis?
Because love isn't everlasting.
Well, yeah, we're not
It
ever.
kinda wears out.
Why?
What? The whole point of love is to make children, so kind of once that's been concluded, women fall out of love.
Do men fall out of love too?
I mean, I guess there's instances. You know, like, have you ever loved a homeless man? Like, what if your boyfriend got homeless? You know, maybe I feel like that loss of status, you know, you would probably stop loving him. I don't think love is as unconditional as blue pillars make it out to be.
Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't stop loving him.
You know, women are kind of like children. They only love what men give to them.
And what do men love?
Men are naturally attracted to fertility, you know, because they have this biological drive to reproduce.
So when a woman is no longer fertile, men stop
Yeah,
loving her.
they could fall out of love.
So everyone's love is conditional, is what you're saying. Just in general, love is conditional.
Definitely, yeah.
How would you?
But is conditional love love?
What?
Is conditional love love?
All love is
In the
conditional.
moment, it is.
How would you explain?
Like it's like if you get high, I mean you're high, but you're just not high forever. In the moment, you're high.
That's the first good metaphor you've made so far.
I mean, you know.
There are a lot of marriages that last until one of them dies, though. Like, do you think that after a while they don't really love each other and they're just sort of like used to being together and that's that?
Well, I mean, a lot of things can happen. You know, maybe some person is kind of fluid with their orientation, and halfway through he just starts slurping down cheese whiz.
Give up on the cheese whiz. Like, it's not working.
Well, it's not, I mean,
You say that.
it's still a food product. It's just not cheese.
That doesn't answer the question, though.
What's the question?
If so, like, you think that people always fall out of love. What about the people who? I mean, like,
I never said always. You introduced that into the argument.
Huh?
I never said the word always.
Okay, so
putting the argument.
sometimes
I never used always.
sometimes people don't fall out of love. Then, like,
I
that's
mean,
possible.
Anything is possible. You know, like cheese whiz is possible, or maybe you just stick to cheese.
Okay, so let's stop with the fucking metaphors that aren't working. Basically, if you're making an argument that has any value whatsoever, then you're either making an axiom, which is, love that lasts a long time is impossible, or you're making a statistical claim, wherein you're saying that love that lasts a long time happens, but it's statistically insignificant. So therefore, it's almost an axiom that it's not possible. Now, whenever someone confronts you with that, you're like, well, that's not what I'm saying. Just straight up say it.
I
Like,
mean, okay, what I'm saying is,
or not.
like, let's say you have a meth crystal, right?
And not in metaphors. Fucking
Maya
say what you need
doesn't
to
weigh
say,
as much
man.
as you, and she's gonna be high for a long time, and then maybe you, aren't gonna be high as long. Some people stay high on meth for a really long time, and others kind of need to constantly get new sources of meth.
So here's what I don't understand. Why
Yeah.
is the fact that women love conditionally and men also love conditionally? Why does that make women? I mean, so in a way, there isn't a difference between the way men and women love each other, except for, I guess, statistically, women love for different reasons than men, which I think is total bullshit. But
No, it's not bullshit, because as a man, you're looking for a woman who will give you a nice, healthy child, and who's not going to be autistic or obese or have developmental, problems. And then as a woman, you're looking for a man who can give you enough resources to raise this child.
And you're saying this is because of evolutionary reasons.
Well, I mean, men don't have vaginas, and women,
but women,
don't do as well in the workforce because, they breastfeed and they raise children,
Okay, sure.
I mean, that's natural. That's just a natural way, Some people here, eat Cheese Whiz, and I'm not attacking them for it, but that's just kind of how the natural way of things goes. If you want to,
Okay, listen. Well, cut out with the cheese with metaphor, or you're gone, because it's literally ruining the conversation. Okay, like come up with a better metaphor or analogy, or you're out. Because it's literally derailing the
but
conversation.
who are you going to debate though?
We have a couple red pillars in here. Don't.
Okay,
Don't that.
let's hear their opinion.
As far as how men and women love differently? Hello?
Yes, we're listening.
Yeah, we're still here.
Is that the topic? How men and women?
I feel like that's what. Yeah, and you're not allowed to say Cheese Whiz. That's what I'm gathering.
I did not intend to say anything about Cheese Whiz.
Okay, well, you just said it.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to recenter this debate. Okay.
Okay.
Can women love men in the long term, regardless of circumstance? So, like, if a guy loses his job, is a woman still capable of loving him? What are the conditions of love, if any?
I don't think anyone loves. I mean, there are always conditions, like not necessarily, someone loses their job, but if I mean, a lot of things can happen that can cause that. I mean, my husband probably wouldn't love me anymore if I gained 200 pounds and started treating him like crap. There are conditions to it, but I don't plan on doing that, so I imagine we're going to be fine. I do think that the things that women love about men are pretty different from, like, the way men love women, though. The conditions are different, but there are conditions to both.
Would you specify the conditions?
Well, like Glow said, men tend to like youthfulness. That doesn't necessarily, to me, it doesn't necessarily mean that, as soon as you hit your 40s that he's not going to give a crap about you anymore. But, men tend to appreciate like the, I guess, sort of innocence and lightness and cuteness that women can provide, while women tend to look more for a strong force in their lives.
See, this is where Red Pill completely fucking mystifies me. Most women I have found, not all, certainly not all, but most women I have found south of, say, 25, I wouldn't even consider dating. They're just far too immature,
Okay, so
by and large.
you don't plan on reproducing, right? You're kind of looking for an older, barren, dried up woman.
I mean, Dink is kind of my ideal relationship dynamic, because I don't want
So
kids.
just like a dry, kind of like a Hillary Clinton you're looking for?
There's a middle ground.
Yeah, like
You don't have to want to fuck a 16-year-old or Hillary Clinton.
So just, so like, let her have her fun, and then you'll come in at the end and, be Captain Save-A-Hun.
No, that's not the game I play. No, the situation.
Because you can't compete to get those women, right? Because all the attractive men are getting them. So
you know what I love about the Red Pill? You guys have this like ideal lifestyle that you justify using evolutionary biology, so that whenever society becomes more modern and whenever society makes moves towards equality, you immediately start insulting that by accusing the people who aspire to a more progressive lifestyle. You demonize that by calling women sluts, by accusing Torrey of being like a beta male who's going after a barren woman.
No, because
I mean, like, you just make an attack on the person.
the Red Pill is the only one concerned about children. If you could, pump out kids with Down syndrome and autism because you're getting pregnant at like 37, you'd be completely happy with your newfound rights. Some people here have standards, and they're actually concerned about children and not about women, running to sex.
You realize that it's really strange. Like, it's not a common thing that people, when they go into a relationship, they're like, what will our kid look like? Like, if you do that on a
So you're fine with Down syndrome in your child. You're fine with that, right?
The thing
is, the risk of a 35-year-old woman.
Relationships people to have kids with them. I get into relationships because I like the person. Like, I don't even want kids at this point, and maybe not ever. Like, the thing is, I don't even know how much of it is a natural thing psychologically for human beings.
You don't think it's natural for human beings to reproduce and want to have a loving family? I mean, I don't know if that's part of your progressive lifestyle.
If people want to do it, sure. But if you're going to say that it's like normative statement.
Okay, your standards, like, aren't everyone's standards. Like, okay, what's the point of dating someone who's hot but completely fucking vapid? Like, what's the point of that?
Because she can make you family. Women are life. They're the center of the household. And children bring joy to families.
Any woman between 13 and
55 I'm sure,
there's a child.
There's homosexuals who are interested in children for other ways, but, us heterosexuals, children bring us joy, taking them to soccer games and stuff like that.
Holy shit! So what are the other ways homosexuals are wanting? Why do homosexuals want children? I would love to hear that.
Well, homosexuals are very interested in young boys, and that's a very common thing.
Okay, I know a place where I think you'd feel really at home. People only want families for children. A man can have many wives. They throw homosexuals off buildings. It's located in between a rock and
I'm not saying anything.
You'd love it, man. You'd love it.
A large part of homosexual pornography and erotic content is very young boys.
No.
Or boys that look under a certain age.
No, you're conflating.
There's a whole category of that.
No.
And you can try and deny it, but that's a big part of homosexual culture.
In the same fashion that red pillars are like enviously looking at like 18, 17, and 19-year-olds because they need someone easy to manipulate. Yeah, sure, in that same concept.
An 18-year-old woman provides healthy children, and she'll have an easy childbirth.
Okay, not everyone.
I think that's a wonderful thing.
Not everyone wants kids, Glow. Not everyone desires kids. Not everyone's looking to reproduce.
Okay, I mean, if that's part of your progressive lifestyle, it's your choice.
It's got nothing to do with progressives. It's got everything to do with having kids isn't the be-all, end-all of everything. And with 7 billion people on the planet...
It is, because children bring joy into people's lives. And that's what's so sad.
There's a lot of things
You're ignoring the fact how important children are to adults' happiness. They give you kind of direction. And, you're not going to these clubs, at age 45 and, like, hitting on men. That's a problem in the homosexual community. Their lives, sure, it's fun to do all that stuff in their 20s.
Glow,
kind
you
of
understand.
But they kind of wear themselves out, and they need something deeper and more fulfilling.
Okay.
Glow, no.
Just live on another planet.
Yeah, like,
Can I butt in here real quick? Homosexuality has nothing to do with red pill. Like, there's really no reason to even discuss it.
Except there totally is, because red pill is based on evolutionary psychology, and, I mean, just the existence of homosexuality and the amount of gay people who do want families. Not to mention that he's the one who brought up that gay people want children so they can sexually abuse them, which is...
I never said that.
It has nothing to do with it, though. Red pill is about heterosexual sexual strategy. It has nothing to do with someone being gay. Like, that's totally irrelevant. That's like a subject over here that has nothing to do with anything that we are talking about as far as red pill. If that's what this is about, then has no place in this conversation.
You're trying to exclude, the voice of this homosexual man who's participating in this debate?
Who would this homosexual man be?
Maya knows who he is. He's nameless, as far as I know.
Since when am I gay?
No, you sound
Well,
pretty
decided.
I don't know if he's gay or not, but that doesn't really matter.
I mean, like, Glow, you're participating in ad hominem attacks. All that proves is that you don't have an argument.
Oh, no.
I mean, I don't really know what we're arguing about. All I know is you visit sex clubs, Maya visits sex clubs, and she has a strange gay man in her house. That's all I'm going off of. And I'm not allowed to say cheese whiz, and you guys don't care about freedom of speech.
Yeah, we care about freedom of speech.
I like being memeless guy. It's like a late 1990s game reference, so I'm good with it.
All right.
Glow, you're not participating meaningfully to this debate. You're like,
I mean, what's the debate? I told you my point. I believe children bring great joy into people's lives, and that
What about all the times when children don't bring joy into people's lives?
I've seen more marriages collapse the second kids come into the picture, and more relationships collapse with kids in the picture than without.
And not just that, children getting abused.
Yeah,
How do you explain that if children are the end-all be-all?
Yeah, I mean, plus, let's not leave out the whole there's 7 billion people on the fucking planet. We probably should start cutting back. Just keep that fact in mind.
I mean, if you want to dedicate your lives to, going to sex clubs and masturbating as opposed to, spreading your values and bringing joy to another person's life and showing them the wonders of the world, I think that's kind of a shallow existence. But you're free to do whatever. We can't all, some want to see cheese and some want to see cheese whiz. I'm not going to force, like fondue in your mouth. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I say we move on, because Glow is stuck in this, he just loves making qualitative calls over people's lifestyles.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's not interesting anymore.
Yeah,
it's not funny anymore. It's not really
Okay, hold on. I think I have a topic that Glow can speak to.
Okay.
Or we can at least tear them apart.
Okay, I'll try and help you guys out so you can debate me properly.
Okay. Can men love women?
Can men love women? Yeah. Men can love women and women can love men.
Wait. Okay, yes, but
temporarily. You said that already.
Well, we were discussing can women love men. The question of whether men can love women, I mean, like, Red Pill is based around the entire concept that women are incapable of loving men. At least in the
women aren't capable of loving men in the same way that men love women. It's a different kind of love.
The only difference being
It
that
can-
men love women for their youth and women love men for their money.
Can you expound
Ability
on
to
that?
provide for their offspring.
I mean, can you expound on that, Glow? I mean, we're simple blue pillars. I mean, you're gonna have to explain it to us step by step.
What do you need? Like, I'll play your game definitely. I'm interested.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, Red Pill's constant axiom is that women are incapable of loving men in the way men love women.
unconditionally, right? So a lot of men believe that women are capable of unconditional love, and if a man can't provide for his offspring, a woman, it's in her biological interest to look elsewhere, and that's it. Women are wired to look after their children.
Can I get a response? Lou?
No.
No?
Okay, so I don't really, just in general, I have critiques of the evolutionary psychology ways of looking at human interactions, just because I believe in a more egalitarian, agrarian system. So just in general, I can't accept the initial premise that women look for providers, because I don't think that's how evolutionarily, I guess, necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily the way our species was back in the day. Not that I'm saying it definitely wasn't that way. What I'm saying is, even that question is contested. I reject the premise, and then I reject all the examples and proofs of it, because they're just like statistically. Well, you don't talk about it statistically. You talk about it in anecdotes, which just in general makes them like totally unnecessary, like totally valueless. And that's
Baker, Glow, your response?
So you reject that. You don't believe that women looked for providers in the past?
No. Not that I reject it. I just I don't fully buy it. I think if you look at and I'm actually going to have to Google this real quick because I can't remember the name of the sociologist who did the research. But I believe in the Marxist, origins of the family and private property in the states. That's what I think. I think that's very likely the way that human society was in the past, which is more egalitarian, matriarchal, hunter-gatherers, where the women gathered as much, if not more so, than the men hunted. Societies that raised children. Small tribes that raised children collectively. No one knew who was the dad of which child, and that's how these tribes existed. They were big families. Everyone raised everyone's kids, and there was quite a bit of equality. Not that I think this is how all early human tribes were, but I think there is evidence pointing that at least a large chunk of them were like that. And if you give me a second, I can also tell you the name of the researchers who came up with this theory back in the fucking 1800s.
Even then, the women took care of the children, and the men fought.
If I could chime in for a second, in terms of I don't think it's always the best way to go about arguing these things. Talking about early human beings and the structures, the social structures that we had back then. Of course, what we are now is the evolutionary product of those times. The problem is, for the most part, whether you're talking from the left or from the right, these are just so evolutionary stories. And whether they were talked about in the 1800s or now, there's no agreement among sociologists or anthropologists because there's just no fucking data. If you look at the remains of early humans, we've barely got any. Homo sapiens are old as shit, and all we know is that people lived in bands and tribes, and we know that we had a very low population density over the Earth. So, say like armed conflict, like wars, maybe that didn't happen very often. But as far as the exact structures we had, we just don't know. And I think it's a little bit dangerous, both for the Red Pill and sort of for Maya as well, to go back to just so stories, because we just don't know for sure. There's no scientific consensus. And even if there is a consensus, it's just making shit up.
Okay, we do know for sure that women have far more ancestors, like they were far more likely to pass on their genes than men were. I feel like that shows pretty clearly that, yes, the men were the ones to take care of the children while men went out and fought and died.
Yeah, I think what she's going off of is that, they kind of looked at DNA and they saw that on average 80% of women reproduced, and that only about 40% of men did.
Yeah.
And so what that means is men have to compete for women, in the same way that peacocks compete for,
That may be the case, and I mean I haven't seen the research, but let's accept that to be true. That doesn't, you can't from there say definitively this meant that men fought in wars and died. You can't assume that
men fought in wars and died. I feel like that's a sound statement. I mean,
how
I'm not assuming
how
that.
else would you explain it then?
How else? Well, okay. You don't need to necessarily have wars or monogamous pair bonding for that to happen. It could come down to sperm competition, as in like who has more virile sperm, and if there's a wide range in that, that could explain it. Frequency of copulation. So there might be some men that copulate a lot more than other men, but not necessarily in exclusively pair bonding styles. And it doesn't mean that the other men are dead. Like, there are a number of stories that could fit that data. Like, you don't know that it was men going off to fight in wars. Nor does that really make sense given low population densities. Like, fight wars over what? And with who? If you're like the only 50 people for like 100 square miles.
Well, I mean, people fight. If you look at lions, or if you look at bears, or any large mammal, they fight for territory, and not all land is equal. Some land is more fertile than other land.
Do lions fight for territory? I'm pretty sure they don't.
And if you read the Bible not as a religious source, but as like a historical document of that region, you would know that conquering people and raping the fuck out of everyone was how the game was played.
But we're talking about pre-agrarian societies, so the Bible, I mean, that's too early.
Well, that's too late, you mean?
I mean, yeah.
The Bible is way too
recent.
late. Like, the Bible is us a couple of thousand years ago. If we're talking about the forces that shaped us as Homo sapiens, we gotta be looking back.
So you don't think like 5,000 years ago that didn't shape our culture and how we do things?
I think it's shaped our culture. I don't think it shaped us biologically. 5,000 years ago is not enough of a time in evolutionary time to make any significant impact upon us. That's just not how.
Like a lot of people who are like related to Genghis Khan, and like it's like 14% of the population. So that wasn't even that long ago.
That's great, but
so I mean, everything has an effect, and if you look at chimpanzees, which I guess is more similar to your pre-agrarian thing, they fight other tribes and they rape.
And if you look at bonobos, they're mostly pretty fucking peaceful. And it also depends. Is it like, are these chimpanzees / bonobos, are they in a highly concentrated, densely populated area where they do need to fight for land, or are they not? Now,
it's probably a mix of both. I mean, I don't know why either of us should argue exclusivity of anything, and it really doesn't make sense. And
But you do, because then you make quality judgments on the lifestyles of people who don't live in this way that you decided.
I'm not making quality judgments. I'm saying if you want to eat cheese whiz, go ahead.
Except you totally did.
If I was to make a quality judgment, I would say that you're dropping Karl Marx so you can be edgy and masturbate to him. But if you really knew anything about Marxism, you know that true Marxism, which was adopted in the Soviet Union in 1910, where they there was no marriage, and there were your little communal tribes, there were a whole bunch of orphan children.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
I'm really I know okay, I know this is not like this is gonna be really petty. But that was sort of really fucking funny. Like you're telling a Russian that the Russian Revolution happened in 1910 and that there was something about little orphan children. Like that's the sheer historical inaccuracy of it.
So you don't know.
Okay, first of all, the Russian Revolution happened in 1917. Fucking go read a history book. And also, I'm not gonna say
So in the post-revolution period, there weren't a whole bunch of orphan children because women wouldn't claim them because there was no marriage.
No, there weren't. Also, like, where are you reading this? Where did you read that there were many orphan children and that it happened in 1910? Like, what?
After the revolution, they dissolved marriage temporarily because they were adopting all of Marxism all at once. And there were a lot of orphan children because fathers didn't have to take responsibility for shit.
No. But also, where are you getting this? Like, I'm genuinely.
Okay, I'll send you a link. Don't get all,
Okay,
don't get
no, please do.
Okay.
Like, you're talking to a dude that spent his undergrad studying Russian history, so this is all news to me.
Okay, so you're a Russian, right? You're an ethnic Russian? You speak Russian?
Yeah?
Fluently?
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, we're not. No, we're not going there. Okay? I can't have half of our. I can't have half the people listening to us not being able to follow a Russian argument. Okay.
I'm sorry for the sad tracking. It was just I couldn't help it.
I mean, I just don't we have a lot of progressives on one side. I just I can't be talking the whole time, Like where's this red pill woman? What is she doing? Like cooking for a family?
Me?
I don't know what you're doing. Just me talking.
I'm
not your husband. You don't have to be submissive to me,
No, I just don't. I don't really have any response to this. Like, it's not. I don't personally care what other people do with their lives. I'm not making any qualitative judgments. I just don't really have any real response. I don't know shit about the Russian Revolution, so I definitely can't comment on that.
Can I try and move this along to something that tell me if you guys disagree, but I'm actually as someone who considers himself a feminist, I'm really curious for the red pill women that are here, why red pill women? Just why?
That's that's sort of a broad question.
Well, I guess the key reasons, the top of your list as to why, that's the red pill is something that appeals to you.
Because I am happier this way. Basically, learning about the red pill turned my marriage around, and it works well for us. I continue visiting that subreddit because it, I guess, what I really appreciate about it is the personal accountability level. A lot of people think that we blame everything on the woman and think that men can't ever do anything wrong, but the point is actually to see what you can do, because you can't change other people, but you can change how you respond to them. And so that is what all of that is about, not saying that, oh, men can't do anything wrong, but saying, oh, well, if you want your man to behave, if you want him to provide a leadership role, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you are constantly fighting him for dominance and nitpicking him and generally just showing a lack of respect.
do you think that, like, it sounds like to me, like the red pill, like, definitely works for your marriage, and it describes what's happening in it very, very well. But do you think the red pillars are correct in stating that axiomatically these are truths about most men and most women? Or do you think that there's a good chance that it just seems to fit your marriage in particular, but it's not
Um,
universal?
the only thing I really care about is my marriage. Like I said, I mean, I don't care how other people live their lives. I'm not offended, by a feminist relationship. I don't hear about it and think to myself, oh, well, they can't really be happy or their relationship is total crap. I mean, I don't care that much about what other people are doing as long as they're happy. I will say that I think that this sort of setup would work better for a lot of people than they might realize, but not, I wouldn't push it on anyone by any means.
Actually, so I did spend a little bit of time on the Red Pill Women subreddit, and I find that I a lot of the time I don't disagree. Even if I disagree with the premise, a lot of the time the advice that's given is decent advice. Because the premise is you're in a relationship, you don't want to exit the relationship, so here are the things you can do to make it function better. And sure, maybe sometimes I'll read it and think, like, there's no reason to be in this relationship in the first place. But assuming that's just not an option. I mean, I don't know, what I'm trying to say is, like, I didn't hate red pill women. Didn't love it.
I mean, there
Whatever
are
that's worth.
there are other women in that sub who talk about their relationships, and I'll think to myself that it sounds terrible and I would never want to be in that situation, but that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad situation or that they are being abused and they need to get out. It's just something that wouldn't make me happy, but I'm fine with other women doing that. It doesn't matter to me as long as no one is being hurt. And I don't see there have been cases where women have come on Red Pill Women and described their relationship, and we've been like, that's abusive, you need to get out because that is straight up abuse. But that doesn't happen very frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like what it sounds like is that there's a lot of women who appreciate that, men who take a more leadership in the relationship. Like they just appreciate, that partner deciding more, right?
Right.
But I mean, also you can say that, and then you can also say it's women who find they have an easier time being in a relationship with a partner when they willfully take a submissive role to someone who's trying to be more dominant.
So I'm not a woman, so I don't know. I can't speak for women. But what it sounds like is you have red pill women who say we enjoy dominant men, and then you have red pill men, saying, shit works better for us when we're dominant. And you're not fighting, the female end of the equation, you're fighting the male end of the equation. And it's one and the same thing.
Yeah, we have, this kind of gets talked about a lot, but we have completely different goals. Red Pill Women and Red Pill Men we are starting from the same place as far as our beliefs about men and women, but our goals are entirely different. And so the way we are advised to behave is completely different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes Yes.
Yeah.
That was a really great answer, actually, and really informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I think
can.
this is
Is
time
this
for.
over?
What?
Are we like? Is this over? We've definitely.
Where'd Torrey go?
I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
here. I'm still here. I'm just making.
Are you gonna like argue with me, dude? Are you,
I'm more of a moderator in this sense, but I can argue with you.
I mean,
We
I
can
don't
argue
know.
a bit.
I mean, like,
I mean, we got like 9 more minutes until we're gonna find this.
I don't know, like, I have theories what you do with your free time. I obviously sent you some photographs of things that you may be doing, but
There are photos. I mean, I mean, typically I just play video games, read, and do schoolwork.
okay. And how's that turning out for you?
Pretty good, because I mean, I hit the gym before work, typical stuff. You know, it's working out pretty good. Re up on nutrition. And
Okay.
on weekends, I go at orgies and play parties and do all sorts of things that would blow your mind, and you'd be shocked at how much you don't need the red pill.
The red pillars at IRC say that your dick sounds really weak.
My dick is
It sounds like
magnificent.
a weak floppy dick. Is this
Dude.
true?
No.
Okay, Tori, I am like, I do want to say that you said you'd be surprised how much you don't need red pill. How many people are really into BDSM and going to orgies and play parties? Like, you're not talking about the average person. Yeah, if you're going to go do that,
Okay,
then you don't
you
need the
guys-
red pill, but you're not
that's what-
talking about, like, the
Listen,
general population.
Okay, I do fuck outside of the BDSM community. Okay.
Okay, no, but you know
But,
what?
I mean, is it Pamela Henderson or
I mean, like,
fuck your hand out, like your hand's not in the.
I mean, my average is like a 7.5, so
Can you post pictures, please?
I
Confirm.
Okay,
I-
no one cares about Tori's sex life.
Yes, thank you. My sex life is irrelevant.
So the red pill works wonderfully well for some people, and the polyamorous / ethically non-monogamous lifestyle works for some people, and the BDSM lifestyle works for some people. And there's a lot of us who found something that works for us. I think the only problem with the red pill is that y'all go out and date outside the red pill community, whereas polyfolk and BDSMers make it very clear what their community is. And
How do we not make it clear what our community is?
you know what? I'm not accusing red pill women because you're usually either in marriages already or looking for marriage. I'm talking about men who are into the red pill. In which case, you never, ever, ever talk about the red pill when you go on a date with a woman because you just.
I mean, I personally read my articles on dates, so I talked about the red pill all the time, and it really didn't stop me for anything. And the other thing is, if a woman is very sexually active, that's a sign that she's probably not going to be a good mother because she's going to bring shame upon her children.
No, it's not. And here's the thing. I mean, like, to really get into red pill, we'd have to have a discussion on standards, and I think
Let's
standards
discuss
are
standards.
absolute.
Let's discuss standards and this moral depravity of just these filthy orgies and just blight. And
What's so morally depraved?
if you had a mother like Maya and you found out what she was doing, you'd be disgusted. You'd hate yourself. And
No,
I think it's really selfish to do that to your future children.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, to have a full discussion on standards, values, and beliefs, we would need an entire other podcast.
Yeah, let's do that. I agree.
Yeah, like, it's too big.
That can be our next podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of I guess I'm sort of at a disadvantage because red pill women are often looked on more kindly than the men of the red pill. So a lot of what I say, no one's really going to argue with.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty reasonable person, but my thing is that so are most of the women on red pill women. Like, there's a really bad reputation that we have, or that we're trying to, convert other people. And what I try to get people to see is that it's not crazy. Like, it's not like this outlandish idea where, our husbands are like beating us or making all these commands, and we just like lay there and take it and have no personality and aren't allowed to say anything in our marriages. Like, we have no control over anything. That's sort of how it's seen a lot, and that's not the case.
Okay, I mean, it's like hard to argue with red pill woman. Like, do what works for a marriage.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, it's your life. I don't care.
yeah.
You're not endangering children like Maya is. With her lifestyle that brings shame upon anyone related to her.
Maya, just out of curiosity, do you have any kids?
No, and I'm just
Okay, so Glow, so
basically
what?
prepared to have children.
So Glow, what non-existent kids is Maya harming?
Her future children. When her children find out what she was doing,
Maya, do you
15
even?
years down the line, they'll be
But
ashamed.
Maya, do you even want to have kids?
And also anyone related, her brothers,
Quiet.
family.
Quiet, Glow. Maya,
At this juncture in my life, no. If I change my mind in 5 or 6 years, then I'll change my mind. Currently, I feel too young to have children.
But do you think down the line your children would be ashamed of what you were doing if they found out about it? Or they'd be okay that, their mother goes to sex clubs and does whatever with people she doesn't even know?
sex isn't a moral issue. It's not.
I'm just wondering.
Okay, no. You know what? I think I would raise my children in such a way so that it wouldn't be a horrifying discovery for them.
Hold on, Maya, just one sec. Glow, to what extent do you know about your parents' sex lives? To what extent? I mean, like, you're making a big deal of it. Yeah, like, who are your parents fucking?
I mean, my parents are in committed relationships, and they.
Are you sure? Are you sure they just don't have a don't ask, don't tell?
And they don't go to, they go to like nice picnics, and they do what respectable people do.
Are you sure they just don't have a don't ask, don't tell? Loads of people have them.
No, they don't do that. And I'm very honest, and I just it sounds like you're gonna be lying to your children about what you've been doing. I have
no intention of having kids. Make no mistake.
Okay, that's good. That's really good.
Dual income, no kids is a beautiful fucking thing.
Whereas I think that if I were to have children, I'd raise them not to think monogamy is the only way to live. I'd raise them thinking that ethical non-monogamy, in whichever form it might exist, I'd raise them to believe that that's okay as long as everything is consensual.
So you would raise your children to see orgies as normal, and you think you could be a good mother, teaching your young children about orgies.
I mean, we're not saying
Okay, at what age would you start teaching your children about orgies?
I would start teaching them about non-traditional lifestyles.
Yeah, at what age?
So here's the way I would.
No, just give me a number.
No. First thing I would.
As a mother, I guess, right?
I probably would never say the word orgy to my children, at least not until they're 15 or
Okay, throngs of people having sex in a dark room.
Who said it's
When
dark?
would you talk about that with your children?
Man,
Glow,
you try so
Glow.
hard to be funny, and it just doesn't work for you.
No, you're not going to call it orgy. What are you going to call it? It's not funny. It is what it is.
Well, for the record, I don't.
It's a more-attack situation.
Just the fact that so I say ethically non-monogamous, you jump straight to orgies, which is, I mean, silly. And then you try to argue with me in such bad faith because at what age would I teach them that
Because you told me you would. Yeah. So tell me what age.
I'd never teach them to. I would never have to say that to them because from the start, I'm not going to expect them to even think about monogamy necessarily.
So you're not like. So for you, sleeping with random men is normal, and so how are you going to impart those values on your children, and at what age? I'm not. Maybe you don't sleep with multiple men at a time, but you're not monogamous, so you sleep with different dudes, right? So.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So when are you going to introduce them to your lifestyle, and how are you going to explain to them?
I don't think there will ever be a reason for me to tell my children detailed stories about my personal sex life.
But how are you going to explain that?
And that's not how children learn about. That's not how children learn about love. It's not how children learn about sex anyway.
So you consider sleeping with different men on a weekly basis to be love? Like, that's your definition of love. Like, that's how far we've fallen.
I already told. Wait, Glow. First thing I said since this podcast started was that I think there's platonic love, and I think there's sexual attraction, and they're two separate things. It just so happens that when they come together, that's love. That's romantic love. That's my definition of love.
So wouldn't you prefer to have romantic love as opposed to this, blight? Whatever you do, wouldn't you prefer a healthy monogamous relationship? Because you seem to.
Why can't I have healthy relationships in the context of non-monogamy? What's wrong with that?
So you think you can have healthy relationships with multiple strange men, and you're not worried about.
Who said they're strange? Glow. Who said they're strange? Also, like, non-monogamy really nicely circumvents all that bed death red pillars complain about. It really fucking does.
Well, it doesn't circumvent the whole STD and AIDS situation. I mean,
if you have common,
non-monogamy is part of it. So is AIDS.
If you have common sense and you take precautions, it certainly does.
I will put that out there. Sorry, I'll put that out there. I do get tested very regularly. I've never had an STI. It's been a long time that I've been doing this.
Okay. Well, as long as you know the risk. And the other thing is those STDs, you can easily pass them on to your children. But I guess you're not really worried about that now.
I mean, if at any point in my life I was planning to have children, I'd get tested for things first.
It just sounds like you're endangering your ability to have children because you're obviously exposing yourself to STIs. And you know that.
I'm exposing myself to a lot less STIs than someone who's in a monogamous relationship and not using any protection. Because such a large percentage of people cheat.
So you think your monogamous lifestyle is a smaller chance? You don't even know.
If I were to personally pursue a monogamous lifestyle where I chose not to use condoms, my chances of getting an STI would be higher than what I do now, which is use condoms with all of my partners. I mean, I'm talking statistically. 25% of people cheat. When you're in a monogamous relationship, you will eventually opt out of using condoms, and if one of the partners cheats in the relationship, the other person is going to get STIs. And the reality is most people, not most people, but a large chunk of people do cheat in monogamous relationships. So personally, I can decide to always use a condom and I'm safe. And no one's gonna, I'm never gonna have a guy get insulted by it. Because, it's a risk. So they do use condoms.
I mean, if one partner cheats, that's 3 people in the picture. Whereas with your monogamous lifestyle, who knows how many people are in the picture? Obviously, no condoms cheating is safer than polyamory plus cheating, because condoms don't stop against herpes.
What the fuck are you talking about? How is no condoms cheating safer than...
No condoms cheating, there are 3 partners involved. Polyamory, God knows how many partners are involved, and there's a
But
huge
there are
list
condoms being
of
used
herpes.
consistently.
And there's certain things, like, let's say balls get slapped on Maya's mouth. She could get herpes. She's not protecting herself against that. Balls slapping. Like, you need to think rationally.
Herpes is, I mean, let's start off with the fact that herpes in itself is not a life-endangering or even especially debilitating STI.
You're not worried about herpes.
I worry about it, sure. I would
it's not that big of a deal
ever
for you.
have herpes, but it's not the end-all, be-all. It's not going to risk my life. It will risk my potential children's life. It won't even, like, impact lifestyle that
you're
bad.
fine kissing your children with herpes lips. That's fine with you.
You do know cold sores are technically the herpes virus.
Right, but I'm talking about, the...
You do know that, like, the majority of the American population right now has cold sores. Like,
right, we're talking about simplex 2 herpes,
yeah.
which Maya might pass on to her children when she kisses them goodnight.
I wouldn't kiss my children if I had a cold sore, but they could just get cold sores if, like,
So most people in America currently, like, basically have herpes in them because they occasionally get cold sores.
We're talking about a different herpes.
In the streets.
We're talking a different herpes, I'm sorry.
Okay, even if they do have different herpes, like, herpes is not going to bring down any fucking country. It is
okay, so today I found out that the blue pill side's not that worried about herpes. And they're really...
Because we take rational protection.
Chloe, why are you so worried about herpes? What's so bad about it?
I don't have to worry about herpes because I'm in a monogamous relationship.
Well,
you go around doing things with people I don't know.
I know, but you think that herpes is the reason why, like, my lifestyle is so awful, except you think my lifestyle is so awful because there is a potential that, like, once every few years, assuming I don't take medication for it, I might get, like, a rash.
I'm not worried about your lifestyle. I'm worried about your children that you might have.
Awful and immoral. That's absurd. That's an absurd assertion.
What's an absurd assertion?
That my lifestyle is immoral because I risk getting a virus that causes a rash once every few years.
I'm not saying your lifestyle is immoral. I'm just saying it's irresponsible to any children.
You did say that.
I feel like when you use the word blight, you're making a moral statement.
Well, maybe I fell into the trap of making a moral statement, but if I have children, I want them to be proud of me, and not have to worry, that I might pass herpes on to them. And that is a moral blight. Giving a sexually transmitted disease to your children. That's a moral blight.
What about giving a child a cold? Is that equally as morally reprehensible? Giving a child a cold or the flu? Okay, I don't understand why it being an STI and the cold being, a different kind of disease. I just don't understand what makes one more different from the other. I mean, a cold could risk if your child is young enough, it could kill them. Herpes would never kill a child. So I just don't understand what the difference is.
I mean, I see a huge difference between gonorrhea and like giving your child a cold. But if you don't, that's...
Well, we're not talking about gonorrhea.
We're not talking... Yeah, gonorrhea...
or herpes or chlamydia or syphilis, I don't know. They're all diseases just like a cold is. And if you're fine giving your children that, that's the kind of parent you're going to be.
You do realize there's a difference between different kind of diseases, right?
There's sexually transmitted diseases.
And they get transmitted differently. We were talking about herpes because you were talking about something that a condom can't protect against and that is not treatable through antibiotics.
Well, I didn't bring up antibiotics, but, it's good that you know that fact.
But if we're talking about protecting children, that's what you must be referring to, things that endanger lives. Because this is why you're switching from talking about herpes to talking about gonorrhea, because you realized that you were wrong and so you need to switch to something more serious.
I'm not wrong. I'm just saying that there's sexually transmitted diseases, and it'd be really disgusting if you gave your child one.
Why? Why is it disgusting?
Well, that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. Maybe you're fine with giving your child herpes. It sounds like you are.
I mean, I'd rather it didn't happen, but if that was a thing that happened, I just don't think it impact my child's life all that negatively.
Okay.
Hey, I've got a question for you. Have you ever played beer pong?
I mean, I personally don't drink alcohol, but that's, I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. But
You've never played beer pong.
I don't drink alcohol.
So you've never played beer pong in the past.
I've never played beer pong because I don't drink alcohol.
Have you ever taken a drink from another person's cup?
I mean, I don't go around, like slobbering on random things. Like I don't, party. I like my lifestyle is about advancing myself in my career and focusing on personal development. I'm not part of the subculture of, sex acts and kissing people you don't know and putting things in your mouth that you don't fully understand. You know what I'm saying? So
You seem like a very straight up guy. So why then, you don't do these things. Why do you care so much that other people do? Like when you talk about moral right,
for me it doesn't matter. Like if Maya starts slapping balls on her face, I don't care. It's not going to affect me.
You do. I can hear it in your voice.
I don't care at all. I don't care at all. I'm just kind of informing Maya that her actions have consequences, and not only on herself, but on her children, who she's okay with giving herpes.
So, like, why so much with the shame? Like it sounds like to you that
if you don't think it's shameful to give your child herpes, I don't know what is shameful.
Okay, well, the thing is, where does shame come from? Do you think shame is an objective thing? Like, does shame exist objectively?
Yeah, there's
argue it's a social construct.
There's objective disgust.
Okay, but disgust isn't objective, right? Like two people can look upon the same image, and one person can be disgusted, and another person can be aroused.
If you smell, disgust is very objective. If you smell rotting flesh, you're going to be disgusted, and 99% of people are going to be disgusted.
Okay, so what you're saying is stuff like non-monogamy is as objectively disgusting as the smell of rotting flesh.
I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that her actions are gonna, affect her children. Because to have a mother who's literally a whore and who literally has herpes is disgusting, and that's on the same level as rotting flesh. And
but I don't.
That's why people yell your mother is a whore, because it's disgusting.
Okay, so wait.
There's literally a whore. It's so bad.
That means a person sleeping around, which is what you're going to say a whore is, a woman that sleeps around. You're saying it's objectively disgusting, like the smell of rotting flesh. Like, human beings have a natural aversion to women like that.
Yeah, because they're horrible mothers. First she gives her herpes, and then God knows what else she's going to do. It's disgusting. And maybe some of this will get through, and when she does have children, maybe she won't continue down this lifestyle for another 5 years. Maybe she'll say, I did this for 3 years, I had balls slapped on my face, and I got herpes, but now I'm a different woman. It's one thing to do that than to continue down this lifestyle and then force it upon poor innocent children.
So
that's what's disgusting.
So, I mean, to get back to premises and less ad hominems, I think the comparison.
It's not ad hominem. Like, she's admitted to doing these things. I mean, okay, I'm not accusing anyone of things they haven't done.
I'm not even gonna argue half of this because you're making things up, but the premise of promiscuity being objectively disgusting, that's just wrong. It's a social construct. Like, the thing is, you think things are disgusting because other people do. Like, we think eating horses is disgusting because it's like, ew, who would eat a horse? Because it's a social norm. Whereas we eat cows, which are very similar to horses, and people think that's fine because that's also a social norm. Sexuality falls under the same thing. The only thing that human beings have a sort of universal revulsion towards is something like rotting flesh, something that is endangering our health.
Right. And herpes endangers people's health.
Except
herpes
it
also
doesn't.
endangers people's ability to reproduce.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so
It can.
herpes.
It-
Look
it-
into the history. Okay, with herpes specifically, look into the history of the disease. For the longest time, it was not a big deal. Really, it's only become more of a thing since the 70s and 80s, mostly to sell a variety of pharmaceuticals to treat the symptoms. On the other hand, some shit like syphilis, yeah, that's terrible, and you have to take precautions against it. However, being promiscuous does not syphilis or HIV make. You just have to be smart about how you engage in sexual intercourse with people. That's what condoms are for. They've been around for a long fucking time.
I mean, condoms don't prevent all sexually transmitted diseases, and the more you're in this promiscuous lifestyle, the more you're at danger, and the more the people around you are at danger.
Except
And
the
you guys
statistics
are fine with
don't
taking
bear
that
that
risk,
out.
and I'm not.
There is no statistical evidence for that. They just don't bear
But
that
what I'm
out.
saying is you're gonna pass on this risk to your families when you share cups with your toddlers and stuff. And I'm not okay with that, and you are. And I can't change your mind. I can't stop you from giving all your children herpes and God knows what else. I can't stop you, but that's kind of my moral limit.
And
And
I can't actually stop you from being like a deeply hateful individual and probably trying to pass that on to your children. But,
yeah, see, like we have this live and let live kind of thing. It's good.
although, you know what? Okay, you could actually quote me on this. I would rather, this can be super ad hominem. I would rather my children all have herpes than be as hateful as you. Like, they would be infinitely happier.
Okay. All right.
Oh my god, and we agree.
We agree.
If I could give you, like, a Google Hangouts props, I would.
Okay. I think this is a great place to end this first discussion we had, which got lively. And I'd like to thank both of you for helping me play this game.
Okay,
Yeah?
well, I guess we're calling it quits, or at least
We reached a consensus, and I'm really glad that our debate led to something fruitful. And I'd like to thank Maya and her friend, Cheese Whiz Man, and I'd also like to thank you for moderating and just really making this possible.
oh, no doubt, no doubt.
All right.
I'll release the next date for the podcast at a later future after we've worked out some technical hiccups with the structure and whatnot. But we will definitely be doing this again.
Okay, thanks.
I think we're over.